Greg Dardanis, and this is in lieu of the annexation that I've done to the city of Brush. And when I first started this annexation, it was to add housing to the city of Brush, which we had a housing shortage and still do. And I started this whole process really not knowing how much red tape there was to go through. And through the whole process, I started it, and normally an annexation takes 60 to 90 days. This took 8.5 months. And through the whole process, we were dealing with issues of extending the water main and sewer and various things that I was told, you know, many times through the process that we're new at this, you know, bear with us. And I was patient, and since it took so long, there were compensation for this delay, which meant at that time the city had a reduced rate for the water and sewer hookups, which was 50% of what they are normally. So through that, to make up for the delays, because every day that went by cost me money. I mean, I had a mortgage on this, and every month it cost me $1,500 that I never will get back. And I'm not complaining, I'm just voicing this, because what eventually happened, I was told that I would get these reduced rates and then 50% off of that. But I was given a deadline, which was unmeetable. I was told that I could, if I met a June 2nd deadline, I would get these reduction in rates. Then, with everything that transpired, I mean, there were so many factors that I didn't get a new address for the property, which you have to do. So I couldn't sell the existing house that was on this property that I'm annexing. So just one thing after another, because once you actually even apply for a new address, it takes 30 days to apply, then you have to wait. It took another 60 days. So by the time everything went, I was able to market the one property almost 8 months after I had started this. So what I'm asking for is to extend it to April, to where I have time to finish these other 2 lots, because I had to have, to get the reduction in rates, I had to have a certificate of occupancy. And there's no way, I mean, if you've had any work done, hiring contractors, I mean, it doesn't just happen like that. So it's not like I'm asking for anything more than what I was promised. And I just want the council to look at this from a business standpoint, that I'm trying to make a profit on this, but also it's for housing for people. I mean, it's an addition to the city, and I think that anyone that's reasonable would see that. And I mean, there's then another thing. In the meantime, Rick resigned, so that further delayed everything. We had to kind of restart, get everybody on the same page. I mean, a lot of the agreements that we had made were not really written in stone. They were for just a, this is what I was told, it was they were looking for a picture of an erase board of the things we had done, and they couldn't find it. So I mean, I'm not looking to blame anyone. I just want what was promised. And I'm not asking for anything extra. I want it till April. I've already got one of the houses there. It's ready to be hooked up. The next one's on the way, and we'll be done. And I mean, I don't know what else we need to do to put it on the agenda for next meeting, but I mean, I'm not going to just give up. So. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Brett Stevens. I'm here to represent my tax dollars. I want to talk about something that's probably going to be emotional for some of you. I'm not trying to make it that way, but it's a topic that needs to be addressed. So I went to the school board meeting last week, and one of their final topics, so if you want to double check my facts, it's at the end of the meeting, probably the last 20 minutes. You can check their meeting. We're talking about the SRO contract. And I'm not here to dispute, debate, or argue anything about that, but the topic was the school district is paying the city of Brush $5,000 a month. And their opinion was the services that were outlined in that contract are not currently being provided. And so their question was, what can we do, right? We believe the city's in breach of contract. We don't want to violate our side because we don't want to get sued from the city. And as a taxpayer, where my taxes go to the city and the school, I'll be damned if there's going to be a lawsuit where I'm paying for both sides. So in short, they said, well, their attorney, because now apparently the adults in the room can't speak as adults, so it's devolved to the point where it's attorney to attorney. The school district attorney is contacting the city's attorney, and that's where the communication is supposed to occur. Per the meeting, their attorney has reached out to the city attorney multiple times with no response. So first, can you please have the city attorney return the call? Now, I apologize because this was last Monday. Perhaps this has been resolved. I don't know. I don't know of a public forum where I could have found that information. But second, it seems pretty simple. Either provide the services that are in the contract or terminate the contract and refund for the services that haven't been rendered. But it highlighted a bigger issue, which is the city and the school district apparently cannot communicate. Now, you all are in volunteer positions that you ran for because, I mean, I know some of you, I believe that you want to do what's best for the community, and I'd like to think we can agree that a positive, productive, at least cordial relationship between the city and the school district is what's best for the community. So I'm not saying that any or all of you caused this problem, but I do believe this is the body that can start solving that problem. So please do that.
If you will stick around till the end of the meeting, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Okay, I reviewed the agenda to see if that was going to be on there,
This is my report.
and that's cool. I did, but before I tried to speak out of turn, I checked that out, so yeah, I'll stick around.
Okay.
But I mean, it seems like, you know, I've heard a lot of murmurs, a lot of rumblings. This is the first time I actually had factual information, and I'm like, this is getting silly. So I understand there are multiple touch points on this. I understand there's both sides, and I'm sure that there's plenty I don't know, but I believe the group here is one side of that can at least, you know, apply pressure to the points that need to be applied so that we can have, you know, adults having adult conversations.
Yep, we'll be clarifying some of that later.
Cool, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we will move to management items. First management items is CARES ARPA contributions. Joanne Weston.
At the last council meeting, Tyler had brought up their new CARES Act. You guys all may remember that, the commercial asset reinvestment enhancement solution that him and Matt had talked about. And in that, they talked about us using ARPA money to fund this. And so we have to have that ARPA money either committed or spent by the December 31st of 2024. So I visited with Monty, and we really feel that we should go ahead, commit this $84,000, set it aside in the facade grant program account so that it's there and available and already spent out of that ARPA. So at this time, I have come to council asking that you approve us spending the $84,000 on the CARES program. That's what I would like. And you had a letter to such in your packets. So it was $84,000. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Thank you, Jenny.
Mhm.
So I would look forward to you all really just through a motion on this one. I move that we approve the $84,000 ARPA funds to the, to the CARES.
The facade grant is where we'll put it.
Second.
Any discussion? Alright, roll call vote. Counselor Durrell? Yes. Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Still? Mayor Sherman? Yes. Motion passes. And 2022 audit engagement letter.
This is a standard letter that we get at the first of the year, every year, from our auditors, Lauer, Zalbo and Associates. They have sent the engagement letter again once this year for the 2022 audit. Last year's was $16,600. The proposal is $17,600, so an increase of $1,000. It usually does increase slightly every year. And at this time, staff is requesting that a council approve this audit and have Mayor Sherman sign the engagement letter.
Move to approve the 2022 audit engagement. Second.
Roll call vote. Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Durrell? Yes. Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman? Yes. Motion passes. Next we have resolution 2023A.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council. So this is a formal resolution to execute the approval that council made back on the December 12th meeting that we had for a special use permit for a residential use going into a commercial zone property at 812 Edison. Again, council did approve that, but the formal process is to have a resolution that states that. This will then be recorded at the county clerk and recorder's office because the terms of the approval were meant to be tied there. So in case it exchanges hands, next property owner still has the use to utilize it as a residential place. Correct. Formally the resolution, yeah. You're welcome.
For a motion on that one, I move that we approve resolution number 2023-2, a resolution containing findings of fact, conclusions, and order granting the application of Aaron Bunch for a special use permit to utilize a structure within the commercial zone as a residential property. Roll call vote. Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor Durrell? Yes. Mayor Sherman? Yes. Motion passes. Tyler's up again with board appointments.
All right, so our Historic Preservation Board, in January is when the current board members, well, not every January, but those that are on January is the month in which their terms expire. And so we have 3 of them on the board, 4 of them actually, 3 of them that do want to renew their terms. And so through our city code, it's required that city council formally approves the recommendations of the nominations. And so those being Helena Schultz, Tom Hoffman, and Sherry Chavez. And so coming to council tonight to see if you could approve them for being reappointed to the board.
I move we approve the board appointments for the Historic Preservation Board. Second.
The numbers that Tyler,
You need me to say them again, or?
I know, I don't know.
Yes.
Counselor Perry?
Yes.
Counselor Corral? Yes. Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman? Yes. Nope, we did deal with it.
No, sure enough.
But don't go too far, because we did. Water, section.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council. Just as a quick overview, there was a consulting firm, City Lidstone LLC, who was retained by a client who was looking to get some hydrogeological information on Camp Cattle Company's land. And as such, Mr. Lidstone did pull all the state permits required, and he had a licensed driller, and everything was good to go. And he had the 3 monitoring wells installed within that watershed protection district. Mr. Lidstone was unaware of our permitting process and was apologetic when I reached out. He says, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know." He says, but he wants to respect the process and do this right. So he's retroactively applying for these monitoring wells. And so that was the permit that I did receive on January 9th. It's very simple, just name, what did you do, and a signature, and our permitting fees. We've received everything, and it looks complete on our end. I did, at that point in time, reach out to the 2 referral agencies that we have. One is Morgan County Quality Water District, as well as Morgan County Planning and Zoning. I did hear back from Morgan County Quality Water District stating they had no concerns with the monitoring wells. In fact, they're probably going to be beneficial on some level. And then there was I didn't receive any reply from Morgan County Planning and Zoning within that 10-day response period. And so as such, we have determined that the monitoring wells will not present a harmful impact to our water supply, and as such, staff is recommending that council does approve this permit. And I'll be happy to take any questions. Okay, well, thank you.
Nice to respect the process.
Okay. And so,
So it looks like we need a motion to approve this permit.
I make a motion to approve this watershed protection district permit application.
Roll call. Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom?
Yes.
Counselor Corral? Yes. Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman? Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Tyler's back with some first reading.
All right, so the first one, well, all of these are in reflection to our work session at our last meeting, in which I presented to council some changes, updates, and additions that we would make to our city code as it pertains primarily to land use and building codes. If I can jump ahead or not, I think we actually cannot do tonight.
Yep, we deleted that one from the.
Okay. So then, the first one there is simply just the miscellaneous updates in the land use code. And that's all I got to say about that.
So I would look for a counselor to introduce this next item.
I introduce ordinance number 899-23, an ordinance amending sections 16-9-30, 16-6-50, 11-5-10, and portions of appendix 16 of the Brushman's Code.
And we just need a motion to approve on first reading and publish.
I move that we approve on a first reading and publish ordinance number 899-23, and an ordinance amending section 13 relevant, amending section 16-9-30, 16-6-60, 11-5-10, and portions of appendix 16 of the Brush Municipal.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. Counselor Corral? Yes. Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman? Yes.
Next one is simply the area specific to the International Building Code, the IBC.
I introduce ordinance number 900-23, an ordinance amending chapter 18, article 3 of the Brush Municipal Code regarding international building code.
First reading and approve and publish ordinance number 900-23, an ordinance amending chapter 18, article 3 of the Brush Municipal Code regarding international building code.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. Counselor Spradlin.
Yes.
Counselor Tyrie.
Yes.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Counselor Garrell. Yes. Mayor Sherman. Yes.
The next one is the same, except the International Residential Code.
I introduce ordinance number 901-23, ordinance amending chapter 18, article 3 of the Brush Municipal Code regarding international residential code.
I make a motion to approve on first reading and public ordinance number 901-23 on ordinance amending chapter 18, article 3 of the Brush Municipal Code regarding international residential code.
Any discussion? Roll call. Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin. Counselor Garrell. Yes. Counselor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Counselor Tyrie.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman. Was deleting the next one from next time and moving on to J.
So J was the addition to the RV park standards that we had put together and presented, and it's on the agenda because we believe council wants to approve it.
I introduce ordinance number 903-23, an ordinance amending section 16-7-120 regarding recreational vehicle park standards.
I move to approve on first reading and publish ordinance number 903-23, an ordinance amending section 16-7-120 regarding recreational vehicle park standards.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Counselor Tyrie.
Yes.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Garrell. Yes. Counselor Spradlin.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman. Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. All right, finance.
Move we approve disbursements and payroll for January 10th, 2023 through January 23, 2023, totaling $383,509.58.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. Counselor White.
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom. Counselor Tyrie.
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin.
Yes.
Counselor Garrell. Yes. Mayor Sherman. Yes. That motion passes. Staff reports. Tell us that.
I'm back. All right, just two items tonight. The first one, we received our official submittal for the building permit application for the North Point Apartments. They've been in discussion for the last year, and so we're going to send those off for plan review this week. It's an $11 million valuation. The whole project itself is $16 million. So it's 45 units just right across the street to the north from the Brush Secondary Campus. So we're excited to see this project going forward. They're looking to break ground in April. Yeah, so it'll be fun seeing that go up through the summer. And then the second item, the last couple months we hadn't done this, but just as a reminder to council that typically monthly we have a standing meeting with our partners in the community that we refer to as the Brush Stakeholders Group. So we met just this morning. That group consists of different entities, primarily the Brush School District, Morgan County Economic Development Corporation, Brush Area Chamber of Commerce, Ebenezer, Morgan Community College, the East Morgan County Library District, the East Morgan County Hospital District, and of course the City of Brush. And myself and Monty and Dana represent the city, myself, Monty, and the mayor represent the city within that meeting. So we discuss a broad array of different things happening in Brush as it pertains primarily to economic development goals. And so today we went over the council priorities for 2023 just to talk about what we want to do as a city, what we're going to be aiming for this year and putting our dollars and work toward. And it was good hearing other partners in the group sharing some of those goals and ideas. Childcare is an example of one of them that we spoke about, trying to come up with some solutions to address that. In future meetings, we're going to be talking about some other strategic plans from some of the other entities, including MCEDC and the Chamber of Commerce. And the goal with those kinds of things is to have people in the room who are decision makers, who can are the, what's the saying, the shakers and movers in the community, And so and at times we have parallel or overlapping goals and initiatives. And so if that be the case, we can combine our efforts and our resources in order to get things done. So we're not just siloed, all trying to do our own things, but collectively trying to get stuff done together. So it's a good group to have. It's been successful for many years, and another year's ahead of us. Looking forward to it. All right, that's all we got. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, that's all right.
I remember the apartment building, there was something that needed to be moved on our part. Was that moved?
So it's about to be moved. So it's out for bid right now, and I believe at the beginning of February we're going to have the meeting to go over all the bids, and then they're going to break ground as quick as possible and get that done. So it's a fairly easy job. Dale and I were speaking about that. There's the moving of the water line and the sewer line. The water line going out into the street to the north. The sewer line we couldn't do because of engineering issues that we had, so we're going to move it north so it's not underneath the building because that'd be hard to access if ever it needed to. So that'll be in the parking lot where that's at. And so that will be easy, and then we'll have to do cleanup work around the roadway. So there might be part of it in the roadway that's being finished up while they begin work on site.
So while we might see construction in February, it's actually our crews and the construction
Correct.
of the building will not take place starting until potentially April.
Correct. Good question. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Howard. All right, to the police committee.
Evening, everyone. A couple of things on our front. First, the police department was involved with a recent task force. So the county, Fort Morgan Police Department, trying to think who else is involved, Department of Human Service, as well as the Sarah House, all came together and had our first meeting of an effort to put together a human trafficking task force for the area. We've kind of seen efforts of possibly that taking place, although we haven't had any specific reports of those kind of things. But we're seeing, obviously, with traffic and drug trade and things like that, we felt like it's the best opportunity to try to get that kind of underway. So we just had a meeting with that last week, so we're hoping to continue that and keep that going. Secondary, so last year we were supposed to get a new patrol vehicle. One of 20,000 vehicles was one we were supposed to get from Ford that was canceled. But I was recently identified from a dealership in Greeley that we went through that we actually have a car in place. The only difference between this one and the other ones is it's going to be black versus white that we typically run for our fleets. It's going to be a 2022 Ford Explorer, so similar to what we got recently. Everything else about the car will be the same other than the color. So we're excited to finally get something put in place. We've had a couple of cars that were a little older. We've been trying to get them replaced and taken care of. So that's it. Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. So we're still short. Right now, I think we're still 4 down with 1 on medical leave right now. So doing the best we can. Currently, we have actually 3 patrol officers, and then one of our sergeants is covering patrol shifts. So still moving along as best we can, but yeah, we're still down. Good. Actually, I know the last meeting you weren't able to attend. So on top of Lisa, we actually just hired our secondary CSO. He started at the beginning of this month. So he's currently in training and progressing really well. He's got prior experience with Morgan County Communications, so he was already up to date on radio, so that's gone really well. And then he knows the area, so geography's progressed really, really well. So we're hoping to have him a little bit shorter training phase than we had last couple CSOs. Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Obviously, top of my list is snow. We are still doing snow removal. It seems like we no more get we get the city cleaned up, we get hit with another storm, so we're still working on it. And I appreciate the citizens' patience with us getting there. We're a crew of 7, 4 trucks, 1 snow blower with the loader and snow plow and everything like that. So we do the best we can with what we have, and I think my crews have been doing an excellent job. They're not omnipresent. They can't be everywhere all the time. And with that, we still have, Southside was first in line for cleanup of residential streets this snowstorm. They've moved over to the east, and I believe they're starting to move to the middle section of town now at this point, and then we'll get back over to the west. Once we get most of this snow picked up and cleaned out, we're going to start turning our attention into cutting ice out of gutters, because there's just so much snow and the moisture in that snow that it doesn't get away fast enough. And so we do have some gutter problems we're going to try and get situated. But we got to get the snow off the streets first, and so that's our goal. I haven't seen dirt in a month and a half, so I'm really excited to get some of this cleaned up. And then also, I will be coming to you later on in another meeting. Tomorrow, the Pruitt Operating Committee is having their annual stockholders meeting, and they're presenting an agreement between Parker Water Sanitation District as well as Lower South Platte Water Conservancy District and Pruitt Reservoir Operating Committee in order to divert water from the South Platte. However, I am not comfortable in, they want the stockholders to actually vote or approve this agreement upcoming, and I'm not comfortable doing that. It needs to be a council decision before I can make that vote. So, and with that, I'll take any questions or comments.
I actually don't have one. I'm gonna say that I am sore, because before this most recent snowstorm, we were out there doing it on our own gutters and breaking them up, and it's not an easy task doing it by hand.
It's not. It's very difficult, so.
Yeah, that's.
It's hard on the equipment too, very hard on the
On
equipment.
that same day, after we left our house, there were multiple people out trying to get the ice out before the next storm hit.
I've been to a few of the towns around, they were getting fun, but I think you guys done an awesome job.
Thank you.
You know, it's something, they've earned their checks this month.
Yes, the crews like to hear the positive. They
Yeah,
really do.
it's looked pretty good, you know.
All right, thank you.
Especially
Pass that on.
Social media alone, you know, once it's brought up, it seems like somebody's complaining about their municipality, but Brush always seems to come up with, hey, they're cleaning up streets, so. It's slow going, because we have a pretty small crew for the site, but you guys do a great job, so.
Yeah, I'm proud of my crew. They do a good job.
Yeah,
So,
that's why you can never retire yet.
I hear you.
Number 200.
I don't know if I got that many bullhooker stories.
Are you at full staff? I do have that question.
Pardon?
Are you at full staff? I
Yes.
understand you had someone out injured and sick.
Right, we're back to full staffing, yes,
Okay.
in all departments.
This is not the winter to be short.
No.
How's the equipment holding up last time you said there was an issue?
Yeah, it's holding up pretty good. The only thing that we're looking at right now is because we have put the equipment through quite a bit of stress over the last month and a half. They need to be serviced this week. And so hopefully while that equipment is being serviced, mainly the loader and the motor grader, because again, those are a rotational piece of equipment that we have. We want to keep it in great shape. So hopefully they're going to get them serviced this week, and when that's happening, maybe we can get some of our Christmas decorations taken down from the corners of the streets. I mean, you had to really balance those priorities of what we needed to do. And so hopefully we'll get them out of here this week. And we'll leave the lights up for now.
That's a question. I didn't know I had until you brought it up. Last year, there were a lot of complaints about the lights that were up on Colorado, or not Colorado, on, gosh, help me here.
Clayton?
Clayton, thank you. Yeah, there was a lot of complaints because half of them weren't working, which we all know is electrical because it's down and exposed, and we know that. So I guess what is your plan this year for the lights?
Well, at this point, we're going to still leave them up, however, until we have time to take them down. But Patrick Heisler, our special projects manager, has been really good about getting out there, checking the electrical outlets, making sure that they're working. When people throw snow on top of those tree wells, that's where the electricity comes from. And electricity and water aren't exactly the best of friends. And so
So is the
that-
best to leave them all on throughout the year? Because I think it does look quite beautiful when they're all working, but when you got like this one working and that one working, and it just happens.
And they will start to go out because GFI, ground fault interrupters, are very, very sensitive. And so it doesn't take much for those to get damaged and ruined. And some of those outlets are daisy chained through one GFI. And so if that GFI goes out, it'll take out 3, maybe 4 of those tree wells.
Normally dinner
So
around,
they're-
I just got a text that says they can't hear us online, there's no sound.
Okay.
The only other thing is I was gonna say I appreciated the communication from the citizens on social media in regard to the tree trimming that occurred.
Hmm.
I really appreciated that was put out there with so much forethought.
Thank you.
Are any more of the trees going to get trimmed like they did on Edison Street?
Oh.
I don't know who knows. Oh, the tree trimmer.
Trim trees with lights in there. We're doing our best.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was in the plans to do Clayton as well as Edison. Got it, okay.
So one thing I was gonna mention, I kinda remember that these lights might have been paid for with a special grant. And I thought these were supposed to be year-round lights that would keep up. The other thing is, there's been some discussion, it hasn't moved forward too quickly at this point, but it's some lights going across the Clayton Street back and forth, overhead lights, string lights. But then there's some challenges with the width of the street. It might be too wide, this street, for that. So then another discussion's come up about, instead of doing that, what about lights on the buildings? So if you go by the Sands Theater, you'll see those neat little lights they've got attached now. There's interest in one party to see if we can do a whole sign, see what it looks like, and see if instead of string lights, if it's too far to string them, maybe some type of matching decorative lights on the buildings themselves. So it's something else that's being discussed that can change colors, patterns of flashing, things like that. So when it's Broncos are playing good, we turn on that's something else to think about, because we do have just a verbal agreement right now with the Chamber of Commerce to work together on some better lighting solutions, and so they're excited about it. They have some funds available they'd like to match the city, but those are coming down the line. But you just got a sneak preview.
Very good.
Nice.
Thank you, Bill. Anything else? John Gosling, Finance Director.
I just have one quick item, and the rate increase for the water and the wastewater will happen. The citizens will see that January 31st. I was going to bring my paper and I forgot to. So, from memory, one of them is a 6% increase and one of them is a 7% increase.
For trash and water.
But water and wastewater.
Wastewater, okay.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to know the exact amounts, they can contact me and I can get you that dollar.
Do you remember if we did that for 3 or 5 years?
This is 3.
3 years, okay, I was reading.
We're in year 2 of water. We're in year 2 of water and because it was the original year and then 3 years, so 4 total.
Okay.
So we're in year 2, the second year of those 3 extra years, and we're in the first year of the 3 extra years on wastewater.
Okay.
We did the original one in 2022.
Okay, very good.
And when we did those increases, we did reach out to the different large businesses, just so they understood it could be, for a large water user, pretty significant changes in their bills, so
Right.
just that they wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Thank you, John. Melissa Wright, Deputy City Clerk.
I have nothing to report.
Oh, that was easy. Dan Carver, City Attorney.
Just a few things. We've been working on some legislation in response to the state's bag fee, which has turned out to be a little more convoluted than we originally thought. There was some discussion about a possible franchise agreement for some broadband. It's in the really preliminary stages. I apologize to Tyler because he's doing a ton of work, but I will have the sections 4 to 12 on the fire, energy, mechanical, all that stuff for you guys next meeting. I think I have some updates on the SRO, but I think I'll
ask
save
you
them
some
if
questions
want.
about it later. Yep.
And that's all I have, unless you have questions.
Thank you, Dan. Monty Torres, City Administrator.
Okay, a few items this evening. The first one is following up a little bit on the snow. One of the things that Bill mentioned is he hasn't seen dirt in a month and a half. We haven't seen asphalt roads, and so one of the fears that we do have is with this much moisture and the temperature swings, that frost wedging in all the cracks and everything in the streets. When we do get the snow cleared off, or when it melts off, one of our things that we're worried about is condition of actual streets, because whenever you run those blades over them, they do damage. The frost wedging does damage, and some of our streets, they have a lot of cracks in them, so those are gonna probably chip out faster. Some of the newer streets probably gonna be just fine, but, that's something that we have to be mindful of with our budget, because you've got to get them maintained, so there might be some requests down the line for council to increase some of the budgeting for streets this year to keep them in good shape. Other thing is Ron from our building department. He is working on some conceptual designs for our break area, some office renovations in the back. It's been a project on the back burner for a couple of years, I think. We've talked about it, and so he's got those conceptual designs. I think he might have presented them some level to Joanne. We're going to go through it one more time, and then we're going to start seeing some improvements into the back area of City Hall. Today was a really good stakeholders meeting. Tyler leads those meetings and did a great job. A lot of discussion about all the city priorities that the city council approved and which shapes up our budget for this year. So we went over about the first half of it, maybe 2/3 of it.
Primary and secondary priorities.
Yep, and then we gave the stakeholders group a really good overview of what we are up to. The one thing that we did focus a lot of discussion on is childcare. Childcare in our priorities, we're going to look into it, investigate a little bit more. The stakeholders group, we threw around a lot of ideas in half an hour of discussion, different things that we could do for childcare here locally. And so Tyler's going to be working on a PowerPoint that shows all the different ideas that we came up with, add more to it, and see if there's some low-hanging fruit in regards to projects we can do to support childcare in the community. So excited about that. And then the other thing is tomorrow, I think this will be your first Northeast Colorado City Managers meeting. So Tyler's going to be attending that with me. And also that leads into the bag discussion, the plastic bags. We're going to get a feel of what all the other communities in Northeast Colorado are doing with the 10 cents and if they're going to start collecting it right away, how they're going to do theirs. So we'll have more information back of what Northeast Colorado is doing. Our hope is that everyone in Northeast Colorado is doing their collection, how they manage it, somewhat similar, so that you don't go to one town, they do one thing one way, go somewhere else, they do something different. And then eventually we'll get back to the city council and we'll have a proposal on how to use the funds. So of that 10 cents, 6 cents per bag goes to the city. We have to determine how we're going to use those funds down the line. That's all I have.
Very good, thank you. Mayor and council reports. Do any councilors have anything to share?
I'd like to say along the road damage issue. Mill Street's getting hammered now because of our lovely county doing a bridge repair, basically not doing a bridge repair, tearing out a bridge and then leaving it there. And then with the project on 34, and there's been some big potholes open up on that Mill Street. Just I don't know if you can get in front of them. There's probably not much you can do about them with all the moisture that's on it, but I didn't know if I got a couple people calling me on it, and then I actually saw it tonight coming home. So
Ray Street is the same way.
Ray Street, yep.
yeah,
Ray Street's picking up the same way.
yep. It's
Find out to get some cold patch in it and kind of glue it together until the weather warms.
yeah. I really wish I'd have known what their thinking was. They're diverting all the traffic through 2 school zones. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but
How many of situations?
yeah.
They now shifted it to the detour up on the 76 now, right?
That was the original detour that's
Yeah.
supposed to have been used. How it got turned to County Road S, I'm not quite clear on. Again, that's
Probably
CDOT and the county communications there, but I do sit in on some of those meetings. And the original detour is supposed to be I-76. It's not supposed to be going down Mill Street or County Road S, but you can't, the locals are going to do what the locals are going to do.
And I think the part that probably spurred that on is right when they did the detour, the interstate was closed for almost an entire weekend, so everybody just started using that road, but that's it.
Anything else? All right, I wanted to just, I watched the school board meeting the other night, and I just wanted to set the record straight because I was a little flabbergasted at the discussion that was going on. So back in August, regarding the SRO program, back in August, I reached out to Brad Mortensen, the president of the school board, and we decided that we should probably meet and try to just work out this SRO program. So he and I, 2 other members of the school board, the superintendent, Dr. Wilson, and Monty all met. We had a meeting. I thought it was a very positive meeting. We left with 5 different things after the meeting. Dr. Wilson sent an email kind of recapping what we had discussed. The first thing on that list was the school district was going to provide Chief Boss with a letter with their concerns on the current SRO so that Chief Boss could reassign a new one. And so Chief Boss wasn't able to, they didn't want the current SRO in the building, they wanted somebody else, and Chief Boss was fine with that, but he couldn't just reassign without good written documentation as to why. So they were going to provide us a letter. That never happened, and Monty reached out to Chief Boss and just confirmed that as of today, he still has not received that letter. We still haven't received that letter. Instead, and then there were some other things. They were going to schedule sometimes for police officers to be in the building. Dr. Wilson and Chief Boss were going to make sure they were communicating via email, just so that there's clear lines of communication. And they wanted more clarity on the invoices, which Joanne did. So I got that to them. And yeah, they wanted other officers kind of walking through the buildings and doing drive-bys and stuff. And then we were going to meet regularly, which we haven't met since then, but after this meeting, I reached out to the whole group and suggested that we obviously need to meet again because everything they were talking about was nothing that I remember from that meeting. So they did provide us with a document with proposed changes to the current SRO agreement, which their attorney sent to our attorney, and he brought it to a city council meeting and recommended that we request a red line version just because there was no indication of what was changed or, and so I'll let you comment on that part.
Yeah, before I get too far down this road, I've been searching this and I've asked a couple colleagues during the meeting, so I'm sorry if I was on my phone. I was making sure I'm not going to breach confidentiality or get anyone in any trouble. I have an email, I have 3 emails from Holly Ortiz, who is the school board's attorney. They're likely considered attorney-client privilege. You guys hold the privilege, so I can't show them to anyone without you guys saying it's fine. I will tell you that there's nothing in there that I have the least bit of hesitation about making public record. And I do think it establishes a really clear pattern, a really clear timeline. It's something that this is usually not how I would ask to do this, but it's something that I would ask the council to waive that attorney-client privilege for these 3 email chains. So something to think about while we go through this. Yeah, the mayor is absolutely correct. There's an issue, I believe in August. I wasn't really made aware because they were keeping it at the Chief Boss and school level. I reached out to their attorney in the middle of September and said, hey, here to help. We need to do what's right for the kids. Let's talk. I was told there was a letter coming. I reached out to her again, said, hey, do we have that letter? I, to this day, have not received the letter. What we did receive was it is a modified version of the original one, but there's nothing to show what was changed in the agreement. And our agreement says that any modification to that agreement needs to be in writing and approved by both parties. So you need to say section 3 is changed by removing these words and adding these words. I've asked for that about 3 or 4 times at this point, and as of I'm sorry, bear with me for 1 second. And I've forwarded kind of what we've got. As of the 19th of January, I got a somewhat red line that says attached is my best shot at highlighting the changes. Please note that there may be some that I didn't catch, and some to that extent. So, yeah, we haven't got a letter saying this is the issue with this officer, and we haven't got a red line. And just for your information, I'm happy to search through my phone records. I do not believe I've missed a single phone call. So I didn't hear, I haven't reviewed their meeting, so I didn't hear what their accusations were, but to the extent that it's me being not responsive is disheartening, to say the least.
Yeah, I was completely, and I called Brad Mortensen and said we need to meet because I'm just disheartened was my feeling too, that they say they're sitting around waiting for us to do something, and we're sitting here waiting for them to do something, and what they, I mean, it's just like there was just a complete disconnect, and it's just so frustrating because, you know, the SRO program is really important. So we were supposed to meet tomorrow, but there was scheduling conflicts, so hopefully we'll get to meet. We will trying to get a meeting scheduled with this group again, hopefully next week. But
so in regards to us not upholding our end of the contract, we're pretty much not allowed to have an officer in the school at this point, right?
Yep.
But they can't stop it, can they? It's a police officer. They've requested no officers in the school, and I think in good faith, I think they're.
They can't legally do that, it's a public school.
At this meeting, they were requesting a different officer, just, you know, whoever's on patrol, can you walk through the buildings? That was what.
So I think the original September letter would have been very helpful to say, here's our concerns, you know, we don't like Larry. Sorry, Larry. Because Larry is intimidating to small children or whatever the reason may be. You're making it worse. We never. You know, we could have addressed it there. I think everyone in this room, and I'm sure the school board as well, wants just the best for the kids. You want to be safe. That's why you're worried about trucks going down there. That's why you're worried about crosswalks, all that. So I think we should look at this as more of a collaborative, hey, what do we need to do to get the right person in that school rather than we can do this or we can do that. I mean, I think if we take that position, we're probably not going to get very far.
You said that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You said that she wasn't real sure this is the best of her knowledge what changed. Her attorney, did she not have it righted? Did she not, wasn't she part of that process or she would know?
Based on the meeting on the last school board meeting, it sounded like one of the school board members actually made the modifications.
I got you.
So I've gone through it, one copy here, one copy here, like this, every single word, and made my changes, or noted what I caught, and I think that's what Ms. Ortiz did. And so what I was going to do, I got that at almost 7 o'clock last Thursday, which means I came to office Friday and got it. Our next work day is today, so.
And when did you reach out to her before that to get that? Because we called you about our concerns after that Monday night meeting.
Well, I don't want to go too specific into dates without being real clear that the council knowingly wants to waive any privilege. I'm telling you that there's nothing in that email chain that would give me any hesitation, but I don't want to. Does anyone have any heartburn about that? No, I think it's all the public record we got. I would prefer a vote, just so I don't get sued down the road. Can we do it right now?
Can we do it right now?
Yeah, and just so we're real clear on this record, what I'm asking for is a vote to waive the attorney-client privilege on the email chains between myself and Holly Ortiz, entitled Brush SRO Letter, Board Approved IGA Revisions, and School Board Response.
I don't write that fast. One more time. Brush SRO letter.
Board Approved IGA Revisions, and School Board Response.
we have to do that as an official vote, or can we just do it an aye and nay
And we
type of
have to
thing?
make a motion, don't we, because it needs to be specific.
Can you make a motion on something that's not on an agenda?
You
I
can,
need
you
the
can
last
make a
one.
motion on that. You can say it as I stated it, if you're worried about misstating it.
I'm not, can I get the last one though?
School board response.
Thank you.
You want to read what you got real quick so we okay before?
Or it could just be, I move that we,
That we waive
waive
the
our
attorney or client privilege.
I'll say it, you tell me if I need to correct it.
Okay.
I move that we as a council waive attorney-client privilege for the 3 emails between our city attorney Dan Crabb and the school board attorney Holly Ortiz titled Brush SRO Letter, Forward, Approved IGA Revisions, and the school board response.
Yeah, and just so we're very clear, you said the 3 emails. I would ask that you waive it for the entire chain of the 3 emails with those.
And then
titles.
my motion to waive the attorney-client privilege for all emails in regard to those, the entire chain for those emails.
Second.
any other discussion? Should we do roll call vote? What the heck? Counselor Guerrero?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor White?
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman? Yes. All right, that motion passes.
All right, thank you. So, like I said, I hate wasting government funds, just like you do. I really appreciate it. I appreciate how you brought this to everyone, especially me. And I have my cell phone on here if you want. So August, there was an issue. First email, I reached out to the school board and said, hey, let me introduce myself. This seems like a really, maybe there's some personality conflicts. Let's work through it together. She said, okay. On September 14th. September 16th, I said, hey, did you have a chance to get anything drafted? She said, no, I haven't had a chance to talk to the school board yet about their concerns. September 19th, I said, let me know if I can help with anything. September 21st, I asked for an update from her. There was no response. October 31st is when the school board gave the new, we'll call it the new proposed SRO. November 28th, I said, hey, I brought this to council. We need a red line to see where these changes are, because we want to make sure we know what we're agreeing to. So that was November 28th. December 16th, I asked her again, we need a red line. This needs to be amended so that we can say paragraph 3 is amended by this. She said, I spent all this time drafting this new contract, so how about I just highlight it when we get the actual words.
I'm sorry, an attorney said that to you? Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, well, and it makes sense, right?
No, it doesn't. 'Cause
Right.
the contract clearly states that it needs to be in writing, so I guess I just don't understand what the lack of, why are they making your job harder, I guess? I'll be quiet.
No, it's fine. I see your point on this side. If both parties say, hey, we want a completely new contract, then that's fine. That is one way you're amending the entire contract, by repealing and replacing it, essentially. If she went through all the work and the school board said, yeah, this is what's great, and we have really minor changes, then it's a really efficient way to do it. But we need to know what those changes are. So she said, we do not have a red line agreement. Rather than redraft the one I already sent, how about if I send you a copy of the original, I will highlight the changes on the amended one. I said, okay. So that was December 16th, I asked for that. I didn't hear anything, and that from her phone call, email, smoke signal, nothing. And then January 17th, so over a month later, I contacted her and said, can you please send the highlighted changes so we can review them? And the 19th, she said, attached is my best shot at highlighting the changes. Please note that there may be some paragraphs that have been amended or slightly altered or deleted. I tried to note placed where that occurred, places where that occurred. I said, thank you, I'll forward this to council, and I sent it on to Monty to say, hey, can we get this on the agenda? That's the entirety of my conversations with her. I don't think that there's any malice there. I think she wants what's best for the kids, but these show that it's consistently, hey, you said you were going to send us a letter. No letter. Hey, we need a red line. No red line. Hey, we need something. And it's just,
frustrating.
yeah. It's
So
disheartening.
for them to go on and on about how we are in breach of contract was just baffling to me.
And if we are, I think that a simple meeting where they say, this is where we're breaching contract, this is what we don't like, then that's fine. That's what we need to have to move forward, because like I said, everyone's ultimate goal is to make sure these kids are safe.
Well, that's the part I was trying to highlight about the breach in contract. It's hard to fulfill a contract when they request that the officers aren't there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of I guess I'm blown away by the whole thing. Monty, didn't they at one point tell us they were going to send a certified letter?
Yes,
we were
they
supposed
did.
to receive like months ago regarding the SRO change?
Through Weiss, we're supposed to receive the certified letters, and we were also informed that the certified letter had been put in the mail, and then it never did show up, and then later said they didn't put it in the mail. But going back to the breach of contract, I think the only area that's a little bit gray for all parties is that originally SRO was supposed to spend a lot of time in the schools, but then we got a request from the school district to do sporadic drive-bys and patrolling of the parking lots, traffic control, and like a sporadic presence. And so we shifted to that, and that was documented in an email. And then after the 19th meeting, we continued with that same scheduling. And I think, if I remember right, I checked on the number of calls for service, and 230 calls for service, I think, for all three schools. At roughly that number, then plus there was a lot of other calls for service for other things as well. But as far as the community policing calls for service, about 230 of those contacts, and we did receive an email thanking us for the presence, and then from the school district. And of those 213 or 230 calls for service, I think we had one complaint or concern, and that was one of the officers had not checked in at the front desk. And so I didn't see that as being a huge issue. And Chief Bossback at that time said he would reach out and address it with the officer. But beyond that, we've been staying with the same program that was requested, I think it was the first week of August, the same scheduling, so it hasn't really changed.
Without going too far down a rabbit hole, I feel like the timing of this is all too convenient when the tax assessor's property tax statements just came out. So everyone can see how much they're spending on their property taxes, and that 50% of it is going to the school district, and then now we get a complaint about a program that is turning right over onto the city when we've clearly done everything that we need to do. Are we technically in breach of contract? Maybe, but we've been requested not to have our SO on that campus, so what can we do about that?
But they're also in breach of contract.
I agree, I
Yeah, I
agree
mean,
wholeheartedly.
the contract got thrown out the window by no efforts of our own.
I agree.
So, I mean, that's...
So how do we fix this at this point?
I think it's really important that instead of looking retrospectively at what breaches may or may not have occurred in the past, that we really focus on, this is our end goal. I think we want, I don't have kids here, I don't have any of that, but I would assume that most people want a school that has some sort of an SRO, that the school board says, we're paying for X, we're gonna receive X, and that the city knows we're dedicating an officer that's not gonna be patrolling the streets, that we know what their responsibilities are, who they report to, kind of the chain of command on that side. So I think it's really important to set our goals out here and then just reduce it to a contract. To be frank, I don't think that this new contract has any earth-shaking changes on it that are just non-starters. That's obviously your guys' approval is needed for it. But I think maybe we just let the past be the past, look at the future, and see if we can just put our heads down and say, it's my kid and it's your kid and it's whoever's that's at that school. And going forward, these are the rules and we're going to play by the rules. So what I recommend is, I believe that contract has been forwarded to everyone. Is that the case, or?
I don't think we've done anything.
I don't think so. Okay. I'm sorry. Like I said, I just got it Friday, so I can make sure that you all have it. If we need to call a special meeting to discuss it, so you're prepared for whatever, so I can say, yeah, paragraph 7 looks good except for these 3 words. I'm happy to do that.
Call a special meeting just so that it's obvious we want to get this ball rolling.
Right.
So I've got my thoughts on the whole scenario here. The first thing is, let's just take the high road on this deal, right? Let's take the high road. Let's ensure that we address any concerns that the school district might have. But the first step is what the mayor's doing. She's got a meeting that she's working on getting set up with the subcommittee, because they did appoint members to be on this subcommittee. And we almost had it locked in for this week, but we have some scheduling challenges ahead of us. But let's get the second subcommittee put together, that meeting. Let's throw everything out there as far as concerns, because if you never fix that wound, it just keeps coming back being infected, right? So let's get that meeting out of the way first, see what all the issues are. I do feel there's a communication issue. Brett had made a comment about a communication issue. I 100% agree. But to me, it seems like part of the communication and some of the advances or what we had been doing, whether finance or waiting for letters, that may not have gotten to all their board. So they may have been in that discussion without all that information. So I think the meeting with the subcommittee, we should emphasize that ensure that the rest of the board's getting the correct information. I'm sure by the time we have that meeting, they'll understand that from our attorney, that communication was moving forward. From finance, that was moving forward, and that we, as far as we're aware, we never received a letter from the school district to our police chief. Either past police chief or current, I don't think we've seen that. But yeah, let's take it step by step. I really do like the idea of getting just one letter. If we want to change the agreement, do it in the letter form the way our agreement currently says to do it. Just follow what it says. And that would probably be a lot easier to present that to council. Here are some of the changes we have. But before it goes to council, give our police department time to review it as well with legal and see what works and what doesn't work. But take that first step and let's try and clear the air, move forward. I think the mayor's got a good plan, and let's just drive on with that plan.
Do these subcommittee meetings, are they on the record? Like, is there minutes of it?
No minutes, we just got a
I feel like maybe that should be a good idea.
And I might add a counselor, because it's just me and you. If I have a counselor there as well, we still wouldn't be going against the open meetings law.
I think a counselor with children in that school would be the best bet.
So if anybody would like to,
I don't know if you want me to do it.
probably not.
I have children in that school, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make that fit my schedule.
Yeah.
That work during any hours, you probably don't wanna do that.
And Mommy's there, he's got kids in the
I
school
do have a
too.
child back in that school.
When is it, Dana?
I don't know, it was supposed to be tomorrow, but now we're shooting for next Tuesday, because every day this week was not gonna work for.
If I can, I will, I'll go.
Okay.
I have kids in school, maybe that's a better thing, you know what I mean?
But
So-
just, you have a child in that school.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, she's gonna be there.
We have one, so if for some reason you can't, I can definitely finagle my schedule to make it work.
Okay, I'll add you to the invite. And
I'm not even offended, I know I should say.
The other thing I did want to say as well is that, we have an open door policy, we're very transparent, but until that video, or when I was advised days to watch the video. We've never had a single, from August 16th or 19th, from August 19th, not a single call of any concerns, questions, anything like that. And so for administrators at the school, they can come in, those are elected as board members, they can come in and ask any questions they want. Very open door policy, but never a single.
And I went to a school board meeting following that meeting and just pleaded with the school board to, all we want to do is do what's right for the kids and get an SRO back in the school and
We are in the school right now, though, right, Brandon? We are there right now. Correct. Okay, cool. Okay.
I would just like to say something on the record and so that it can just be clear and put out there. I do want to see us move forward. As a parent, I am not happy with the way things have been handled in that school district in any way, shape, or form when it comes to the police officers. I want to see our children grow a positive relationship with law enforcement so that they know that they have them to turn to as adults if maybe their parents aren't there. I want to see those positive relationships grow. With that in mind, I do understand that the SRO program creates more of a presence and more responsibility and more in-depth things that occur with the school district. And so it is a different program than just having an officer walk through campus. And so I understand that the school district wants to make that work as well for them as well for us. And so we would like to see that contract work for everyone. As for the comment that, and it was stated, and I was there when it was stated with 200 other parents in the room, that we didn't want officers in our schools. There were 3 officers there that night that were invited by the school district. And it is a publicly funded school. Officers have the right to be on campus. Just to be clear on that one, so that people don't think, oh, well, the school is saying our officers can't be there and protect our kids. That's not true. I don't want anyone to think that. Officers can go in and they can protect our kids. So I don't want anyone to think that. So I want to see this move forward. I know that I am not the best fit to go to a subcommittee meeting, and I'm okay with that. But I would like to see this resolved for everyone's benefit, especially the kids. That's all I have to say.
I think that if we move forward with the tennis courts, upgrading the tennis courts, would be an olive branch to the high school, showing that we do care about the kids, we do care about the community. And I think we should look into that grant that was presented to us last meeting.
We'll have Lance talk about that next time he's here. And
I think we've reviewed all the branches, not just with this, with other projects. I think compromise is awesome from both sides. I don't want to fight. I don't want a lawsuit. I don't want that at all. Okay?
Should be like a marriage.
I think it's awesome we take the high ground. But there's compromise, you know what I mean? It's not just from our side. So I want to make sure when that contract comes, we do review it. Everything is in writing from now on, by the way. Everything. Justin's right. All these meetings should have a record of it, because it's been a lot of he said, she said in this. Okay? And that goes nowhere but angry feelings. Compromise, both sides. Okay? I think we've done a lot.
Yeah.
Okay? I think it's been tough. It's doable. We'll all be diggers, right? We're all brush. Well, you are now, so you let me know. Okay? We're happy about it, Justin. We'll let you in. I'm bustling. But I mean, it's compromise, okay? That goes both ways.
Yeah. I'm committed to making sure that communication improves, and I've talked to Mr. Mortensen about it, and he agrees. He felt, he just agrees that we need to make sure that we discuss this more openly instead of what happened the other night happened, and because it was so wrong. But
and I don't know if it's a good or bad idea. But with the South Road, we all sat down at the library, all the board members and all the council members, you know what I mean? Never got hashed out, so everybody's in that room. And I think we actually got a plan going that day. I mean,
everyone forgot about.
What's that?
I said that everyone forgot about, because that was going to be a point I was about to make. That should have been recorded.
Well, it is, but I mean, they're doing studies right now, so we compromised, right? So maybe something like that should happen too.
I agree though that meetings going forward, even these sub-meetings, they need to be recorded in some way.
Okay.
And that protects everybody. That protects them, that protects us. Here's what's said, here's what we said, here's what you said. So let's make a plan.
Very good. Yeah, because I would love for the city to, and the school district to work together on everything. It breaks my heart that there's any discord between the two entities that mean so much to this community and our kids, and it's just important that we can work together, so.
Absolutely. So would you, in preparation for your next subcommittee meeting, like myself and Brandon to get together, and probably Monty as well, and say, these are what I see as issues, these are what I see as issues, just so we're ready to move forward? Does that seem helpful?
That would be great.
I think that's good to be prepared for that, but I think that probably a big focus of that meeting is going to be going over our original plan from the first meeting and talk about what did happen, what was resolved on that plan, those 5 items, and then see why the other ones have not moved forward yet. And whichever party's responsible for those, make sure that they're going to move forward with those. And then we use that as a springboard. Let's get these done, and then let's start looking into the new agreement or the addendum to the agreement, whichever one we go with.
Just let me know what you guys need from me.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. And that was pretty much all I had. Yeah, we were gonna, we'll have Lance put together a report on the tennis courts and his thoughts on that, and then I was going to talk about the snow. Deb kind of brought that up. I did get a couple complaints, but I've told everyone that brings it up to me that our crews are out there working so hard, and just because you don't see them working on your street doesn't mean they're not working on a street to try to get to your street. But there's a lot of streets, and we had a lot of snow, and it's been many, many years since we've had to deal with this much snow. So I do appreciate the compliments that we have gotten that I've seen on Facebook, and I apologize to the people that feel like their streets are being neglected, but they're not being neglected. They're just, we're just getting there. So.
Because you started a different part of town every time, right, Dale?
Correct.
Yeah.
We started the south side this time. We were on the west last time, so we did south side this time, and we were moving towards the east and moving towards the middle of town at this point.
Cool.
So are they still out there?
They're still out there.
I was going to say, I saw them today.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Sometimes they have to wait till it warms up enough to move the snow, but,
Yeah.
but they're out there.
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
And just for the record, SCDL drivers, they can only run 10 hours a day.
Right.
7 guys, 10 hours a day, that's it.
Right.
So.
Okay. So, if nobody has anything else, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we have a work session. Thank you everybody for coming.
You'll win.